Welcome back. So I just wanted to make a short video just talking a little bit more about this mocking that we're doing right here because it's really strange when you see this the first time. First of all, the mocks are pretty much just wrapper objects that can pretty much track whatever happens to objects that they have wrapped, right? So in this case, the mocking will start listening whenever specific methods are being called inside our location validator. That's the goal for the mock right here. And in this case, it's just going to say, I really don't care how you implement this. That's not my concern right now. All I want to know is what methods do you have available? And that's what we can see inside this interface right here. We can see there's this method available. So it'll start listening for whenever someone calls this method, it'll just kind of trigger almost an event just saying, now it's been called once, now it's been called twice, bop, 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 bop. Just count how many times it's called. For instance, there's a lot of other things we can use it for, but let's just try that for now. And in order to prove this, let's just try and go back to the test. There we go. In order to prove this, let's just try and play around with a few things right here. So instead of saying one time, let's say never. It should never be called, right? I know that's kind of a strange test, but let's just try and do it and rerun this. And I'll show you that now it should be failing because it's actually called one time. So it shouldn't work now. And notice again, I can say it should never be called, but it's actually called one time. So we can start testing with these verifications inside the mock. We can actually start testing how many times things have been called. And let's say exactly, just to show you that one, 2 times, just for the fun of it. Let's try and then rerun the unit test, and now you'll see we fail again because now it says it should have been called exactly 2 times, but it's called more than that. And you can just check out the other ones. But let's just try to jump into our service just to show you how I could fix that issue. Because if this was actually the issue, I would just go in here and call it again, right? Now that would be kind of stupid, but now it should work again. Now the unit test works because it's called 2 times inside the service, right? It's called not 1 time, but 2 times. There we go. So now it's happy again. So I just want to kind of show that's actually the only thing the mock is doing for us right now is just counting up how many times do you actually call this method right here. And I could again go back to 1. I could also say once. That's the same thing, right? So that's kind of what the mock is doing for me. But you can use the mock for so many other things. And again, let's just talk briefly about the thing I'm doing right here. First of all, notice right here I'm actually calling .object right here on the mock. Now what that means is that it's actually going to generate a fake object behind the scenes. So it's not really an implementation class. This is not going to end up being a location repository. It's just an interface with an object with the methods that the location repository provides for you. And right now the location repository is blank, so you won't have any methods available for now. But as we start moving forward, you'll start seeing methods inside this guy. And think of it this way, it'll automatically generate an object behind the scenes when it runs this code that contains all those methods. They don't do anything, but they're just available for testing purposes again. Now, if I wanted to make this even prettier, what I would do was pretty much just remove that guy right there, create this as a mock again, and then in order to make this kind of the same thing I'm doing right here, I would make this into a mock like this, and then again I will call .object down here. And this is, I'm going to start doing it like this because it's a lot more precise in my mind to see that we have the mock available now for later use. If I wanted to also test this guy later, I now have a mock so I can start kind of looking for information about that guy as well if I want to. Because later, of course, when I do a create, I expect that the location repository will be called, for instance, with a create method or whatever I'm going to call that, an add method inside the repository. So we'll get back to that later as well. Now, as you'll see as we move forward with these videos, you can use mocking for a lot more than that. But let's get back to that as we get to the point where we're going to play around with mocking some more. Now you've at least seen how you can create flow testing in your application, and also how you've seen how you can use business logic testing inside your application. So see you next time where we'll have even more fun.